Unearthing a coffin might not be a great discovery for archaeologists, but it becomes a big deal when it's about something that can redefine history. The recent discovery of a coffin in Spain is speculated to change the entire European history, which is a one-of-a-kind discovery for them. So let's find out about the discovery, and if you're someone enjoying such ancient discoveries, then subscribe to our channel without waiting any further. The Visigoths were among several migratory Germanic or Gothic tribes who were labeled as barbarians, i.e. different and culturally unsophisticated, by the Greeks and Romans. Nonetheless, the Romans made treaties with them and incorporated them into their imperial armies. Visigothic soldiers arrived in 416, having been hired as Roman allies to re-establish Roman authority over the earlier Germanic invaders. These soldiers were summoned in 418 to the south of France, where the Visigoths had already established their capital in Toulouse. By that time, Roman control over the Visigoths was shaky. The Visigoths had already sacked Rome in 410, and their westward expansion within southern France and eventually Hispania was a process over which Rome had little control. Although they initially controlled much of the peninsula from Toulouse, the Visigoths finally moved en masse through the Pyrenees in the early 6th century. A series of defeats and the death of their king, Alaric II, at the hands of the Franks from the north prompted their decision. The Visigoths dominated the peninsula from the early 6th century to the early 8th, though their control was frequently tested during the first 100 years. The Vascons, or Basques, in the north was a thorn, and the Sueves in the northwest were a constant source of contention. Furthermore, the establishment of Rome's eastern offspring, Byzantine Constantinople, in the peninsula southeast in the mid-500s, posed a threat to Visigothic resolve. During the reign of the redoubtable Leovigild, the Sueves were finally conquered, and the Byzantine threat was eliminated in the 620s. Except for the Basque region, the peninsula got thus united from within for the first time as a nation under a single ruler. It had been nothing more than a province under Rome, ruled from without. With the Visigoths, it took a first significant step towards self-identity. Many believe that the Visigothic contribution to Hispanic civilization was non-existent or marginal. The contributions of the Invisigoths suffer greatly because they're sandwiched between the great legacies of the Romans and the Moors. Indeed, the Visigoths' importance may be defined paradoxically by what they did not do. They left only a few pieces of art, some gold and silver work and figurative carvings, but no individual pieces of sculpture. There are no towns that have a strong cultural identity. Even Toledo, their capital from the mid of the 6th century, lacks significant Visigothic features. What remains are some rural churches in the north and some striking church-related artifacts in Merida, Toledo, and Cordoba. Pillars, decorated altarpieces and fonts, stones with Maltese crosses, and so on. The decorative elements have a Byzantine quality, like vegetal motifs, grapes, plants, peacocks, leaves, and geometric patterns, likely due to the Visigoths' close contact with the East on their westward journey. That is when they adopted Arianism, a heretical Christian doctrine that denied the Trinity and was preached by Arius, a Greek-born theologian. The horseshoe arch, a major contribution to Hispanic architecture, could have also come from the East. The Church of San Juan de Baos is the most striking example. The Visigoths left no linguistic traces of their presence. There are no literary works or written documents in Visigothic, even of a legal or ecclesiastical nature. However, it's not that the Visigothic period was devoid of culture. On the other hand, the 7th century writing in Hispania was among the richest in Europe, despite the fact that it was primarily produced by Hispano-Roman writers. So let's get into the discovery. A well-preserved Visigoth sarcophagus was found at a Roman villa in Spain. While excavating Roman ruins in southern Spain, researchers discovered a preserved coffin adorned with geometric patterns and interlocking ivy leaves. According to Murcia Today, the sarcophagus dates from the 6th century CE, when Visigoths invaded territories earlier held by the fallen Roman Empire. Archaeologists discovered the 6.5-foot-long coffin from the University of Murcia during a summer dig at Los Villaricos, a large-scale agricultural settlement established by the Romans around the 1st century CE. According to Heritage Daily, the sarcophagus was buried at a Roman villa that the Visigoths repurposed after it was abandoned in the 5th century CE. The central patio area of the structure was used as a necropolis by the Germanic conquerors. With the sarcophagus, the team also discovered a Chi Rho symbol carved on the top of the coffin. According to Philip Koslowski for Aletheia, the monogram, also known as the Christogram, combines the first two letters of the Greek word for Christ, Chi, and Rho. It symbolizes Jesus, or more specifically, his resurrection. After having a vision while praying, Roman Emperor Constantine reportedly adopted the Chi Rho symbol as a military standard. It was eventually incorporated into an official imperial emblem. The monogram could also be found in many early Christian works of art. Archaeologists excavated 3 stages. The first occurred in an area that provided water to the village. The second was centered on the town's tombs, while the third was on the so-called pool area, where ancient people produced and stored an unknown product. So, were there no Visigoths? Can we ignore the Visigoths given their lack of a significant Visigothic presence in Spain? No, for some reason each highlights the Visigothic myth in Spanish history. Firstly, many historians, particularly those who support Castile's centrist views, regard the Visigoths as nation builders because they were the first to establish a united and independent kingdom within the Iberian Peninsula. However, according to Zigarsa Viada, the Jesuit church historian, Spain as a country was born politically in 573 during Leovigold's reign, and spiritually in 587, when Leovigold's son, Recared, converted from Arianism to Catholicism and declared his nation officially Catholic in 589. Garcia Viada could also have added that in 654, the political and spiritual dimensions of Spain nationalism were supported by a unified legal system. It was known as the Law of the Visigoths, Lex Visigothorum, or the Liber Ludiciorum, Book of Judges, and it brought together earlier Visigothic customary laws and traditions, as well as Roman legal principles. It was used in Christian territory until the 13th century. With these fundamental structural requirements for nationhood in place, Iberia Hispania was politically, religiously, and legislatively united as early as the 6th century. This combination of unity, law, and order under a benevolent church piqued the interest of General Franco, Spain's dictator from 1939 to 1975, who praised the Visigoths for bestowing these qualities on Spaniards when he opened the Visigothic Museum in Toledo in 1969. José Ortega y Gasset, one of Spain's most famous philosophers, dismissed them as a decadent, drunken, and Romanized tribe lurching its way through Hispania, and compared them unfavorably to another Germanic group, the Franks, founders of France. Americo Castro, an influential literary critic, philologist, and historian, rejected the idea that the Visigoths were Spanish in 1948, arguing that Spain, or Spanishness, was a product of the 8 centuries of convivencia of Christians, Moors, and Jews. Secondly, following the Moorish invasion, the Visigothic spirit was frequently invoked as the concept of the godo as conveying untainted Hispanic virtues was recalled with pride in the struggle against the infidels. The famous Hispano-Roman writer, Saint Isidore of Seville, whose writings enjoyed great popularity in the Middle Ages, began to praise the Visigoths. The Visigoth status declined slightly during the 14th and 15th centuries, only to re-emerge at the start of the 16th century following the fall of Muslim Granada. It was revived with the publication of the Mozarabic hymnal in 1500 and the Mozarabic breviary in 1502, both of which reaffirmed the continuity of the Visigothic pre-Islamic church rite. As the 16th and 17th centuries progressed, Es de los Godos was used to identify anyone who claimed a lineage traceable to pre-Moorish purity. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more.